Hello, my name is Sandra Burrell, and I've been on the Wahls protocol since September 2014. I decided to change my diet as a result of promising results Dr. Wahls was finding in her research and my own personal health factors that closely aligned with Dr. Wahls' experience, such as mitochondrial deficiency. I'd already been gluten-free since 2011, well, mostly, and then 100% gluten-free since late 2012. I also gave up on cow dairy in 2013 when allergy tests confirmed I was sensitive, and I ate a little bit of goat and sheep cheese, but had largely given up all other dairy. Despite these previous changes, adapting to the Wahls diet still represented quite a change for us. My husband joined me in this dietary change. We purged our house of anything that we couldn't eat. And this is something that Dr. Wahls actually recommends, that the entire family gets involved in this transition to ease your transition to this new diet and stop you being tempted into non-compliance. So many people ask me about the Wahls protocol, and they always focus on the diet's restrictions. However, I like to focus on the positive changes that the diet brings, that Dr. Wahls recommends, and things that we add to our diet every day. One of the cornerstones of the Wahls protocol is the daily generous helping or two of leafy greens. In this video, I'm going to walk you through some of the tips I've learned to manage the Wahls protocol, specifically with regard to preserving our own garden greens. Now, the Wahls protocol requires 3 cups of leafy greens every day. Ideally, these leafy greens will be organic and freshly harvested, but you might want to ask yourself, why have I focused purely on turnip greens in this video? Well, that's really easy to answer. Turnip greens actually straddle 2 of the categories according to the Wahls protocol. They're both a leafy green and a sulfur vegetable. So it's not surprising that Dr. Wahls found so much value in these leafy turnip tops, because they really do pack a punch. Turnip greens are easily grown, and they will provide you with numerous repeated crops over the course of one season. Even if you can't grow your own, however, you can still scoop up greens when you're at your local market. Ideally, look for turnips with the greens intact, like the picture on the left. This will give you an idea of their freshness as well, because the greens should still be non-wilted, if you like. However, if the greens have been removed, look around to see if they put the greens nearby. In the picture on the right, you can see that the market has displayed turnips with the tops cut off on top of the bed of leafy greens. Sometimes, I even found in our local market, they put a brown box under the display of turnips so that people could break off the greens and put them in this brown box so they wouldn't have to take the bulky greens home with them. I found an employee and I asked if I could just help myself to anything out of the box, and he said absolutely. He said go ahead. So at no charge, I loaded up several bags with these nutritious leafy greens. In addition, you could consider sprouting turnip seeds to get microgreens, and this is a subject I'll take on in a later video. Another question you might consider is whether the greens need to be organic. At home, we took steps to ensure our garden produced organic vegetables when we developed a space for our garden over the past 2 years. Because we've followed the Wahls protocol for 2 years, all of our compost is from organic sources. So that, in combination with some purchased organic soil, comprise the bulk of our growing medium. However, if you cannot grow your own organic turnip greens or find a source that is not organic, a little bit of digging on the FDA.gov website showed me that turnip greens are as clean as other foods commonly put on the clean 15 list. Residues are very low in the tops, although they are somewhat higher in the vegetable itself. Organic is always preferred though, if you can find them or grow them yourself. Here's a couple nutritional tables I found, and there's a lot of information on them, but you might want to take a look at the blue bars in this one that show you the percent daily value of each of those nutrients. These are for generic turnip tops, raw. I assume organic tops will meet or exceed these values. In addition, freshly harvested turnip tops will assure you of the maximum nutritive value. One precaution I did find on the FDA website is that high levels of vitamin K, and you can see the lowest blue bar there, that 100 grams of raw turnip greens contain 314% of the daily allowance of vitamin K, and that is far less than 3 cups of turnip greens. So the high levels of vitamin K did warrant a warning from the FDA. They also included in that warning other foods such as broccoli, cabbage, collard greens, spinach, kale, and Brussels sprouts. So if you take anticoagulants, an example of that might be warfarin or maybe some of the more modern anticoagulants, it is important to keep your dietary level of vitamin K consistent. Older advice used to say you cannot eat some of these vegetables that have extraordinarily high levels of vitamin K, but current research says that you just need to be consistent in how much you consume. Eating these vegetables in high quantities, such as recommended by the Wahls protocol, is not a problem if it's done regularly. Problems can occur with the efficacy of anticoagulant drugs if our diets vary greatly in the amount of daily vitamin K. So the lesson here is to eat your vegetables every day. So taking a look at the nutritional value for just over 100 grams or 100 grams of raw turnip greens, it contains 20% of daily calcium, copper, manganese, approximately 10% of daily fiber, iron, magnesium, vitamin B6 and vitamin E, and half the daily total of folate. Where turnip greens really excel is in providing more than twice the daily minimum of vitamin K for just half a cup, a full complement of vitamin C, so really important for antioxidants, and 3 times the amount recommended by the FDA for vitamin K. Remember, this is just for 1/2 cup or 100 grams of the Wahls, and the Wahls protocol contains 3 cups of leafy greens in total. I think I said that it has a lot of vitamin K twice. The one I missed out is that it has a lot of vitamin A, very important for your cellular membranes. So here's another table that shows you a detailed analysis of the turnip greens. Some of the same information on it, but it's something I scooped to show you something that Dr. Wahls said in a presentation I attended at Direct MS in Calgary on September 15th, 2014. And that was, when you eat kale, you are eating 1,000 different ingredients. And she was using kale as an example. You can't duplicate natural vegetable nutrients in a pill. So you might, buy a powder that says, is full of leafy greens, and it may very well have, a dozen or more different types of leafy green powdered on in its ingredient list. However, the benefits that you're getting from using the real thing, the real vegetable, far surpass what you can get in supplement form, especially if you take supplements in a piecemeal fashion. So this is a picture, sideways, I apologize, of our organic garden. It's actually a picture of a double row of turnip greens. And it's about 5 feet long between our pathway and the rear fence there. And we actually planted 4 double rows, each row 5 feet long of organic turnip seeds and one double 5-foot row of organic rutabaga seeds in late April. And within about 6 weeks, these plants were already producing many leafy greens and more than we could certainly eat between the two of us. This picture, which shows you this healthy crop of leafy greens in mid-August, has already been harvested, I would guess 10 times over the course of this summer, either in whole or in part. We also harvested some of the whole plants in this row just to thin them out a little bit so there's more room for the actual turnips to grow underground. We found the turnip crops and the rutabaga crops to be 100% pest resistant. Never saw any insects infestations on the leaves. And this is something really important to consider because we didn't want to use any chemicals for pest control in our organic garden. So we harvest the leafy greens just by cutting the stalks a couple of inches above the ground. And this leaves the very tiniest of leaves right in the crown of the tops, and it leaves them intact, so the plants are still going to photosynthesize and the turnips underground are still going to get the benefit of that, and the leaves are going to grow back. And so the turnips underground keep growing. So the picture on the left shows us having harvested the beginning of the row enough for our morning smoothie. And the one on the right shows after we've collected the remainder of the row. And it takes probably, depending on the conditions, about 10 days to 2 weeks for this row to completely regenerate and give us another crop of greens. We planted 2 types of organic turnips this year. This is a close-up of our white turnips that shows them just growing underneath the ground after we've harvested the tops. We probably could have done a bit better job at thinning these out because you can see some of those turnips aren't going to be the lovely tennis ball shapes, but we are excited about harvesting them later in the summer. This is our double row of purple top turnips. Again, after we've harvested off the leafy greens. It actually looks like we didn't cut this row back quite as far as we did the ones on the white turnips, but all that means is that these tops will be ready to harvest again sooner than the other ones. And probably we could, if we were desperate, which we're not, but if we needed greens in a hurry, we probably could get another couple batches of greens off what was remainder on this row. Okay, so how do we actually process the greens? And these are greens that we're not eating right away. These are ones that we want to save for the winter. So what we do is we use our Vitamix and we make like a green slurry and then freeze them. So we don't remove the stalks, which is totally okay because these leafy greens are not that old. Like I said, 10 days, 2 weeks maximum. And they were harvested within minutes of this picture being taken. If the turnip greens are more mature, you can still make excellent stir fries out of them, but the stalks, I think, would be too fibrous for smoothies. So we use 1 cup of liquid for approximately 10 cups of compressed turnip greens. Basically, what you want to do is you want to put your liquid in your blender and then smush down those turnip greens into the blender container just as hard as you can. Just get as many greens as you can into the blender. We like to choose liquids that we would use in smoothies anyway, and we've tried just plain old water, filtered water. It's no different than putting ice cubes in your smoothie. Coconut water, which is a lovely flavor. We also make homemade coconut yogurt, something that I'll show you in another video. And we also put kombucha in the smoothie, makes it a little bit bubbly. And you don't have to process the Vitamix too long because remember the leafy greens will be processed again once you put them in your smoothie in the winter. Okay, so once blended, it looks kind of like that, and that is, like I said, really compressed, full Vitamix container full of greens. And so we freeze them in pucks that are very easy to manage. We tried metal muffin tins. We even tried greasing them with organic coconut oil, and we just found that we couldn't easily remove the pucks once they were frozen. It ended up that the sides of the pucks thaw a little bit. You have to run them under hot water or something to get them out of that metal tin, which means they're more likely to freeze together once you put them in your freezer. So we settled on these silicone muffin cups. You can buy them at the dollar store in a big stack. They're very reasonably priced. They're easy to clean. And they are easy to remove the frozen leafy greens from them without defrosting. So this is what they look like when the batch has been added to the muffin cups and put on cookie sheets to be put into the freezer. Each blender container makes about 20 muffin cups. If you have leftovers, or if you don't have enough cups, you can always just keep some of the pureed greens in your fridge for your next smoothie. Remember, we compress the greens quite a bit to make this batch. Each puck contains a minimum, a very, very minimum of 1/2 to 3/4 cups of turnip greens. So if you're following the Wahls protocol diet, you need a total of 3 cups a day. We freeze the pucks overnight, and then we remove them from their silicone molds. At that point, we transfer them to plastic tubs or freezer bags to store for them in winter months. Although it's best if you remove the pucks the night before and put them into your blender container in the fridge. These high-powered blenders like the Vitamix have enough power to blend the frozen pucks if you wait until the morning to remove them from the freezer. Turnip greens have a very mild flavor, and it doesn't overpower the smoothie. Some tips that we found is we like adding half an organic lemon or half an organic lime, the peel included, or some fresh garden mint, and that really brightens the smoothie flavor. Also, you can add one of these frozen pucks to your bone broth or actually to any soup to greatly enhance the nutritional value. So we actually duplicate this method for other garden greens, but I want to show you the turnip greens because I really think they're the rock stars. They grow so easily in our Vancouver Island garden. They yielded us so many harvests of leafy greens this year, and we've stored many, many hundreds of these for the winter. The plants remained pest-free, and the rows grew both in hotter, sunnier locations and in locations that were damper and received only partial sunlight a year. Didn't see any difference at all in yield. They are really prolific producers. Freezing our own organic leafy greens will allow us to rotate our greens and consume product very soon that was frozen very soon after the harvest. And these are both recommendations from Dr. Wahls to realize maximum benefit from following her Wahls protocol. If you have any questions, leave it in the comment here, or feel free to contact me via email or the Canadian Neurovascular Health Society Facebook page or Twitter account. It would be great if you could share this educational video with your contacts and watch the CNHS website, Facebook page, and Twitter account for more educational videos in the future. Thanks so much for watching and sharing.